That's my floor sopping wet through. So, a couple of weeks ago, driving through loads of rain one day, and I started to get a lot of water on the inside of my van. Somehow the water's getting from underneath onto the top of the floor. That's my floor sopping wet through. Absolutely sopping wet through. There, the entire floor is sopping wet through. What in the hell? I mean, it's just literally sopping wet through. It's covered in water. Looks like it's under there as well. Looks like it's dirty. Yeah, got damp underneath the mats and the floor. And a little bit in there as well. Sopping wet through. So, sopping wet through. I mean, there's a lot of water to come out, and then it's all gone to the front there. Sopping wet through. This is a nightmare. I then took the mats off the floor to see what water was underneath, and yeah, this is what's draining out of the mats. So, yeah, you can see it all over the floor now. And as you can see, the water at the back of the van is dirty. So that's definitely road dirt, road sprays getting in. I just stopped. So I mopped up before and I've stopped. And now you can see there's rivers of water again on the floor. So trying to work out where it's coming from now is going to be the thing. I put some little bits down on the floor so I can see. And that one is absolutely sopping wet through. So wherever the water's coming from, that's a key indication. So now that one's sopping wet through as well. So this is getting a bit much now. I stopped 15 minutes ago and I emptied out my water tank. It isn't the water tank. So this water is actually coming in from outside, and yeah, there's a lot of it as well. So I have to try and work out what the hell's going on and where it's coming from. So it's either coming from wheel spray into the wheel arch and then spreading on the floor, or it's coming in through the side trims and going on the floor. So as I'm editing this video, I realise I've not really kind of quantified or described a couple of aspects here. One is the construction of my floor, and the other one is why therefore water can seem to be coming from under, as in spray from the road, and getting on top of my floor. So my flooring in my van is different. There's no wooden braces or anything like that. There's simply the PIR board glued to the actual metal floor of the van, and then there's marine ply, and then there's my vinyl. The marine ply and the vinyl are then sealed, and then the vinyl is then sealed literally over the top of the sills. The sills, which I'll drop to the bottom of the van, where you can sort of like see them on there at the moment, the bottom part where you've got the bungs and everything like that. The sills are then filled themselves with insulation. So if you were to get anything sort of like a lot of water on the floor of the van, it will stay inside the van, on the floor of the van. It won't go under the floor, and it won't go into the sills, which you'll see from what I'm showing you shortly about removing the water, why the water's come in and then it's stayed on the floor. It's not found its way out anywhere, shape or form, because everything's sealed, and that's due to the construction of the floor of my van. So let's get back into the video now. My sills are full of insulation, so if any water does get in, it's not going to just fall out. Although I did pull the bungs out, both these and the inner ones there, and no water came out, so the sills are dry. So I put some tape around the bottom part and the top part so that I could, well, stop water from coming in like that. So what I've decided now is let's take this tape off, take the trim off and seal the clips that are behind it. So without boring you through the next sort of hour of my life, I've sped this bit up. Took all the trim off, just the back end, and took the clips off. I then found that the clips have a rubber backing to them, and therefore there was definitely no water ingress from the clips. So I just cleaned it all up, made sure everything was okay. I then used Sikaflex through the seam between the sill panel and the side panel of the van, to make sure that the Sikaflex was, basically sealing up the seam again, and then use Sikaflex for all the holes where the clips go into, just to make sure, that it was going to be absolutely watertight when it went back on. But I'm convinced it was watertight anyway. So yeah, all you're doing now is watching me stick it back together, put the clips back in place, and basically put the panel back where it belongs, having convinced myself that, yeah, although this seemed to be a bit of a wasted time, it was worthwhile doing anyway, because I found out this wasn't where the water was coming from. Judging by what I've seen on my phone, everything in the wheel well looks okay. Like I say, I use a Scotch pad and several brushes and stuff like that to really clean it up. Oh, there we go, folks. Found it. Wow. This panel and the inner wheel arch are not glued together. Here's me thinking it'd be somewhere structural, and it's not. It's actually the seam there, which makes sense. That's where the water's getting thrown at. It's getting behind there, and then that's pretty much exactly where I thought it'd be. It's getting in that side of the wheel arch there, and then traveling along this side and out. So yeah, wow. Get it cleaned up, and well, Sikaflex. Lots of Sikaflex. Well, there we are. At least we found it. Time to get some Sikaflex all over the place now, and hope that that does it. I don't know how else I could do this. The only other thing I can think about is bending that out so I can get Sikaflex behind it, and then just squeeze Sikaflex in. Yeah, it's pretty much that whole thing there, all the way down to there. There it's okay. So there just about, but you see where it's gone a bit, where the paint's flaking off there? That's, I guess, where it is. That's obviously a telltale sign that behind there, sort of not sealed up right. Here's another quick demonstration. I've got my little pry tool between those two layers, so the inner wheel arch skin and the outer, and they should be bonded together, and quite clearly they are not. Right, so I'm just going to have to get Sikaflex over my hands now to basically run a bead all the way from the bottom to the top there. This is going to be difficult because it's all by touch. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just put Sikaflex on my finger and then just run my finger up. And I know Sikaflex isn't really meant for this, but it's all I've got. So it's going to have to do. And once I've done this side, I need to go and do the other side then to see if that's got the same problem. So just to save you another hour of my life, I basically squoze the Sikaflex between the two metal layers, the two panel layers of the outer skin and the inner wheel arch skin. Squoze it in there as much as I possibly could, and then formed a nice thick bead over the top of everything so that everything is now fully sealed. So I'm just going to show you behind there. If you're wondering why I look like this, by the way, there's a bit of a chilly breeze. So it's a lovely sunny day, but it's about 3 degrees in the wind. So yeah, a bit chilly. Hopefully the sun will come around there as it's coming around now, and warm up that area. So everything that I've done will then sort of like be allowed to cure a little bit better as well. But yeah, I'm just going to see if I can point the camera inside the wheel arch to try and show you what I've just done, so you can see the area I've sealed up, so you know what I'm talking about. Hopefully that's come across anyway. Hopefully you can see the white seal there. There you go, that I've put on. So now do you get what I mean about the fact that it's the inner wing metalwork that's not bonded to the outer wing? I mean, that already sounds better. Before it sounded really tinny. So it sounds like I fixed it. Fingers crossed. Just got it down on the other side now, because yeah, why not? Check it out just in case. Right, so does this one move too? Yeah, this one moves a lot more. So this is the bit we're talking about. You've got a lower sill panel than the upper panel, which is bonded to the inside wing there. So if it isn't bonded, it'll move like that. Which means that this is allowing water in behind there. And I know for a fact that this one is probably my fault. Because of that, I hit that tree while I was trying to maneuver around and park up. So if we zoom in on that tree, you can see there's a little bit of bark missing on one edge and some white paint. And you can see some bark colour there. So on this, what I'm going to have to do as well is seal all the way along there. So I'll clean it all up, I'll seal that bit, and then I'll seal the back like I did on the other side, just to make sure that we're all okay. So same sort of process again, 3 different types of brushes, a very stiff brush, and then a softer brush, and then a 3M sort of like Scotch pad. Then using some isopropanol and a cloth to clean up the surfaces, both behind the wing and everywhere else. And then as far as the side panel, the 2 sort of panels at the side that I'm working on at the moment, I've basically used the pry tool I was using before to open up that gap to squeeze Sikaflex into the gap and then remove it as I went along. So there's plenty of Sikaflex in that gap, just as there's plenty of Sikaflex between the 2 inner and outer wing panels on there as well. So yeah, pretty much exactly the same process. Probably used about half of my tub of Sikaflex doing this, but yeah, it's done, and hopefully you'll never know that I bashed the side of that van on a tree. But the parkour was worth it. So yeah, both sides done now. That side, my fault. I don't know if it was a problem beforehand. The back half of it seemed really secure, unlike the front half of it. And the front half of it definitely was, because I clipped that back edge against that tree. So obviously some parts are welded on modern vehicles and some parts are just bonded. And yeah, I guess it's for speed of repair, so they can replace a panel dead quickly just by heating the old bent panel up, pull it off, glue the new one on, paint it, and off it goes again. And if you ever did watch any of my videos, as I was pulling out all the ply lining on the inside, starting to put on the insulation, I noticed lots of little dots everywhere, and they're weld dots for repair, where a panel obviously has been spot welded loads of places and then pulled straight. So I'm guessing this side I've had a bit of a bash and it's been fixed. Maybe the other side did as well. All I can say now is that I'm very, very, very happy that on the other side I have found the problem. You know, without a shadow of a doubt, there was a gap that was letting water in under the wheel well, where all the water gets churned around and forced back round that wheel well as well. So yeah, without a doubt, that's where it's coming from. So I had a chat with a friend of mine who works in a paint booth, and he said, by what I described with the weld spots that I'd seen, that yes, my van has had some attention. It's been resprayed, and therefore it will have been put into what they call an oven, which is a big paint booth that gets warm, to cure the paint. And therefore, if the seam sealant was at all, you know, sort of like applied very, very, very sparingly, then it may well have been that that oven has broken it down somewhat. So obviously the water and time have worked together, and yeah, within the last month this has just become apparent, and that's where we're at. As Mandy's van was right next to me, I thought I'd check hers as well, and thankfully it's all okay. But one thing to note about Mandy's van that I suddenly spotted here, there's just one rear panel. Whereas on mine there's a lower sill panel and the upper panel. On Mandy's it's just one panel, but hers felt fine, and yeah, no problems detected at all. I'm not sure that there's a takeaway from this video other than I'll, you know, rest assured that I will bring back this video topic if the inside of my van ever gets wet again. But should that not happen, let's leave it there and say that's it, sorted. And if you're ever buying a van, obviously that's an area that you might well be now checking. I know lots of people say check the sills, make sure the plugs, you know, the grommets and the plugs in the sills, you don't get water through up or out of them. I checked that when I bought this van, but I didn't check to see if all the panels were fixed to each other. So yeah, maybe that's the takeaway from this video. If you ever look for one of these vehicles, just check that everything's all right, and the wheel arch and the back panel and everything else are all perfectly well secured and bonded and welded to each other, as should be the case, you know, without sort of stressing about that on every vehicle. I'm pretty sure it's because this one was you know, previously a little repair or something like that. Right, well, thanks for watching, folks, and yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.